During this video, I want to give you some evidence what play can really do, not just for your pupils, but also for us as adults. And I hope this video will help also the reputation of play to have a better grounding. So, because I think like when we understand what play can do for us, we can use it in more wisely and even much better in our quite economic and performance-focused society. So maybe you heard about it, that without playful exploration, there would be no creativity. And when we hear this, I mean, without play, no creativity. What that means, it's when there's no creativity, we would just improve or rebuild things that are already here, but nothing new would come into the world. So let's think about a car. The real innovation was the internal combustion engine. But everything around, like how the interior looked like, that it's a cabriolet, that it's a SUV, that it's a truck, they are just improvements, rebuildings of one really creative solution, the internal combustion engine. So this is what is called linear innovation, just rebuilding and improving on things that already is there. But what is really interesting are the breakthrough innovations. So these are the things that just come through creativity and therefore just through play. So when we think about what humans all invented that all surrounds us right now, that we take so for granted, these are all breakthrough innovations based on creativity and play. And then I'm asking, like, why are we not using it more in our companies, schools, in our everyday life, when this is so crucial even for our species to survive? Because just through this we can adapt to new challenges, to new environments, and it let me think like maybe it's just because we don't understand how it really happens and why creativity or why play enhances creativity. And this is what I'm going to tell you now. So neuroscience can explain quite in great detail what happens in our brain when we play, when we are not using our brain just for organizing our everyday life or to think about how we achieve our goals or to pursue our purposes, but when we enter a space where we can be mindlessly and freely just exploring our potentials. By means of the modern magnetic resonance tomography, they can measure what happens in the brain when a person plays. So they find out that there is a reduced oxygen consumption due to reduced activity in the neural associations in the amygdala. And the amygdala is this region that is activated when we are afraid. So when we play, we don't have fear. In the game, when we play, we don't have fear, and all the other parts in our brain, the neural networks, are getting activated for the specific challenges the games give us. And the more complex a game is, the more neural networks are activated. So when these neural networks are activated simultaneously, and the brain finds a link through the synapses, then creative new solutions can happen, because this is where breakthrough innovations happen. And during a game, when you made a well-made turn or you completed a task really successfully, then there are neural networks in the middle brain that intensify firing. In this firing, we experience as joy, pleasure, and sometimes even excitement. So when we play, it strengthens the feeling of joy. Now you know what happens in our brain when we play, but what conditions need to be in place that this is happening in the brain. Now we are going to physics to understand like how these complex structure can appear. And in a new form of complexity science, there are basic principles I think like we can use to understand this phenomena. So let's say we're taking water molecules and we want to find out how these water molecules can create such a unique and highly complex structured item as a snowflake. So when you cool down water too quickly, it turns into an ice block. And when you warm it up too quickly, then it thaws, cooks, and evaporates. So when does a snowflake then appear? The energy, so it shouldn't be too warm, nor it shouldn't be too cold. So it then happens when the energy is not too little, not too great, but such in a way that the water molecules have a leeway to interact with each other so that the potential, what is inherent in them, can come out. So it's a basic principle as well for play. Highly complex structures can just appear if there's neither too little nor too big energy. So the snowflake could appear, and similarly also to play, with play, it is that there cannot be too much energy or too little energy that really creative solutions can come out. And now we are coming back to our great breakthrough innovations. So when there's a lot of pressure on somebody to be creative, let's say having a deadline and coming up with a creative new solution, or having the pressure of termination, maybe otherwise you need to quit your job, then there's too much pressure on the brain, it will never come out as a creative solution. But on the other hand, there shouldn't be too little energy as well. So when there is no energy even wanting to find something out or needing to find something out, then there can also be no creative solutions. Examples we can see everywhere when we look into breakthrough innovations. So when did they happen? When we think about Einstein and his theory of relativity, when it happened for him is not when he was under pressure, but of course he wanted to find something out, but it is when our thoughts can casually form itself. So this could be even in the bed in the morning, it could be during a walk, or in the shower. So this is often when we experience like, aha, here and now I have an idea about something, or I have a new insight. So when the neural networks can really feel or can free themselves, when their energy is so right that they can come into relation with each other, so that suddenly everything makes sense. So what does this mean now for play? Play is always just an offer. We cannot force people to play. And the same applies like having pressure on play, for example, through judgment or saying what is good and what is bad, would not bring out genuine play. But at the same time, we need rules for play. This is the high energy again. We need an arousal to find something out. We need a task to fulfill. We need to have the freedom, but we also have the rules that we can create a space where we can be free inside. Let's take an example with a ball game. I always do as well with young people, is I give them the task to throw the ball to another person standing in the circle so that the other one catches it. So this is the task, quite simple. Throw the ball as the other one can catch it. So what happens in the brain is that it might throw the ball to the other person and it drops. So the person thinks like something in the brain is something activated, but it's still incoherent. It didn't make, the synapses didn't link yet. So through this person is just trying out different ways of throwing the ball. So to find out and to connect with the other person, to find out in which way I can throw the ball that the other person can catch it. And maybe we need to move, we need to have eye contact, we have to breathe in the same time. So through this, the person is understanding how to make it happen. Me as a facilitator, I don't tell like how people should throw the ball, but the participants need to find out themselves. And then when it works, and there's even a whole group throwing the ball in harmony, so it doesn't drop anymore because they understood the synapses linked, then what happens again, what we had before, is that the middle brain and the neural networks, they fire and we find a place of joy and pleasure. And this is also why children play or learn so quickly during their childhood, because they're always trying out what works, what doesn't work, and they find so much pleasure and passion in it because it all the time fires. But what we also need to understand, or what this shows us, is that we cannot taught how something is done. Pupils, as well as children, as well as adults, they have to find out by themselves. And just the rules or the task have to be in the state of arousal that we can find out. And of course, it also makes often more fun to play together, as through the other person, there are many more neural networks activated than when I'm alone. So when we are in a room and I'm all the time throwing to the same person the ball, and suddenly we change, it's the other person, I have again to find something new. So this other person is a whole new world for me. And through connecting with another person again, it activates different neural networks and different synapses are linked again. So which can bring us again to more creativity. So as I said, rules are very important, but also rules shouldn't be too narrow. When suddenly rules get too narrow, then the people are objectified when they're just executing what somebody wants them from. So for example, what happens quite often I see are directors telling directors how they need to play something. So there is so little leeway for them to interpret the story, to interpret the character, that they cannot really find their own potential, find their own way of playing it, because they're just objectified and just needing to execute what another person wants them to do. And this is not genuine play anymore. When we think about acting, it is kind of the interpreting of stories, the interpreting of objects, the interpreting of personalities. And this is kind of already where a lot of neurons are activated, where there are different tasks on us at the same time. And even with the ball game, we could enhance this game into an acting game. So let's say when me as a facilitator, the group is playing this ball game already very nicely, I ask them to move around with music. And then when they are again quite comfortably with it, using different levels, going down to the floor, using the higher level, and then starting playing out different personality, different relationships, so that they are finding also new ways of engaging. So this task is quite clear, so we can go into another step, and this is acting. So now we have 3 signatures of genuine play. So this is freedom, connectedness, and acting. And when all of these qualities intertwine, play succeeds. When they play out beautifully, then there is a space for potential development. And even if one of them just falls short, play loses its magic and its deliberating power.